My name's Eliza, and I was 16 when it happened. It was 1977, Colorado Springs, and I'd been babysitting for a neighbor, Mrs. Carter, for a few months. Her kids, Tommy and Lily, were 6 and 8, sweet, quiet, the kind of kids who went to bed without a fight. The job was easy. Watch them for a few hours, make sure they didn't burn the house down, and pocket some cash. That night, February 7th, started like any other, but it ended in a way I'll never shake. Mrs. Carter lived in the same apartment complex as my family, just a few doors down. She was a single mom, always tired, always rushing out for her night shift at the diner. She'd found me through a flyer I'd posted at the community center. Reliable teen babysitter, $2 an hour, it said. She liked that I was close by and didn't ask for much. That evening, she kissed Tommy and Lily goodnight, handed me a $5 bill and said, "I'll be back by midnight. Lock the door, Eliza." I nodded, already flipping through channels on her old TV. The apartment was small, cluttered with toys and laundry. The kids were already in their pajamas, curled up on the couch. I read them a story, some Dr. Seuss book they loved, and they were out by 8:30. I tucked them in, checked the windows, and locked the front door like always. The place was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the occasional car passing outside. I settled on the couch with a bag of chips, watching some cheesy sitcom, the volume low so I wouldn't wake the kids. Around 9, I heard a noise, a faint thump like something falling in the kitchen. I froze, my hand halfway to my mouth with a chip. The apartment was on the ground floor, and the kitchen window faced the parking lot. I told myself it was nothing, a cat on the sill maybe, but my heart was pounding. I grabbed the phone, an old rotary thing, and set it next to me. No cell phones back then, just a cord that barely reached the couch. I got up, tiptoed to the kitchen, and flicked on the light. Nothing. The window was closed, the sink empty. I laughed at myself, feeling stupid, and went back to the TV. Then another sound. This time a scrape, like metal on glass. It came from the back door, the one leading to the tiny patio. I turned off the TV, my ears straining. The kids were still asleep. I could hear Tommy's soft snores from their room. I crept to the back door, my socks silent on the linoleum. The door had a small window, covered by a thin curtain. I pulled it aside, just an inch, and peered out. The patio was dark, the streetlight too far to show much, but I swore I saw a shadow move, just beyond the glass. My stomach twisted. I checked the lock, still secure, and backed away. I was about to call my mom when I heard footsteps. Not outside, but inside. Heavy, deliberate, coming from the hallway near the kids' room. I grabbed a kitchen knife, my hands shaking so bad I almost dropped it. "Who's there?" I whispered, my voice barely a squeak. No answer, just another step. I inched toward the hallway, the knife raised, my breath shallow. The kids' door was cracked open, same as I'd left it, but the air felt wrong, heavy, like someone was watching me. I pushed the door open. Tommy and Lily were still in bed, fast asleep. I exhaled, my knees weak. But then I saw it, a shadow in the corner, tall and still. I froze, the knife slipping in my sweaty hand. "Get out," I said, louder now. The shadow didn't move. I flipped on the light, expecting to see nothing, just my imagination. But there he was. A man, maybe in his 20s, standing by the kid's dresser. He was tall, with messy hair and dark eyes that locked onto mine. He held a knife, bigger than mine, the blade glinting under the light. I screamed, stumbling back. He didn't say a word, just stepped toward me. I ran for the front door, fumbling with the lock, my hands slick with sweat. I could hear him behind me, his boots heavy on the floor. I got the door open and sprinted into the parking lot, screaming for help. A neighbor's light flicked on, and I heard someone yell, "Call the police!" I kept running, my bare feet stinging on the cold pavement, until I reached my apartment. My dad was already outside, alerted by the noise. He grabbed me, pulled me inside, and called 911. The police arrived fast. They found the man gone, the back door's lock broken. The kids were still asleep, unharmed, thank God. But there was blood on my jumpsuit, not mine, smeared from when I'd brushed against the wall in my panic. They collected it, along with fingerprints from the back door. The man was William Kernan, a college student who knew Mrs. Carter. He'd been to the apartment before, hung around the complex. They didn't catch him that night. He was long gone. Years later in 2024, I read they solved the case. DNA from that blood matched Kernan, who died in 2010. They couldn't confirm it fully. He'd been cremated, no relatives left. but the police were sure. He'd stabbed a girl named Maria Hansel that same night in another apartment. She was 14, babysitting like me. She didn't make it. I still see his eyes in my nightmares, cold and empty. I stopped babysitting after that. Never went back to that complex. Sometimes I wonder how close I came to being another headline. I started babysitting for the Millers when I was 12. By 15, it felt routine. Walk 2 houses down, watch their 6 and 8-year-olds, get paid, go home. The kids were loud, messy, and clever in the worst way, but the money helped me buy school supplies and save for a second-hand bike. That Friday, Mrs. Miller told me they would be out until 11. Just a normal night, she said while putting on her coat. I nodded, already planning to get the kids in bed by 9, finish my homework at their kitchen table, and be in my bed before midnight. At 8:30, the house was calm. A single lamp on the end table glowed over the living room. Cartoons played at low volume, rain tapped the big front window, and now and then a car headlight slid across the curtains. The kids, finally tired after an hour of chasing each other, curled up on the couch with blankets up to their chins. I kept the remote in my hand so I could mute commercials that might wake them. 9 o'clock came and went. I decided to give them 10 more minutes before carrying them upstairs. I stood, stretched, and walked to the thermostat to raise the heat a notch. That was when it happened. A dull thud at the front door. Heavy, deliberate, not like the snap of a branch or the slam of wind. The lamp's shade quivered. A second bump followed, softer, then the sound of shifting weight as if someone pressed an ear to the wood. My heart slammed. I looked at the kids. Their eyes were wide open now. I put a finger to my lips and whispered, "Hide behind the couch. Stay down." They obeyed without a word, rare for them, and crawled under the knitted throw. I killed the TV and the lamp. Darkness filled the room, broken only by the digital clock on the cable box. In the sudden quiet, the rain seemed louder, but I could still hear movement by the door, rubber soles twisting on the mat. I pulled my phone from my pocket, no signal bars. Their Wi-Fi often dropped during storms. Calling anyone was out. I backed toward the kitchen, opened the drawer by the sink, and grabbed the biggest steak knife they owned, one I had washed earlier after heating frozen pizza for the kids. Taking slow breaths, I edged along the wall toward the hallway that led to the front entry. Every inch of the floor creaked in that old house, so I pressed my heels down first to soften the noise. Halfway there, another sound reached me, the click of the mail slot popping open, then closing. Whoever was outside was testing gaps, maybe searching for a lock to pick. I thought of running out the back door with the kids, but the backyard had no gate and opened to a dark stretch of trees. If this person circled, we would be trapped outside. It felt safer to face them here, where at least I knew the layout. I gripped the phone in my left hand, knife in my right, rounded the corner, and raised the blade shoulder high. My pulse banged in my ears, so loud I almost didn't hear the front door swing open. 2 tall shapes jumped in, arms flung wide, mouths open. Boo! For a full second, my mind couldn't match the faces to names. Then lightning flashed through the window behind them, and I saw Mr. and Mrs. Miller, drenched coats shining. They burst into laughter, doubled over, slapping each other's backs. My scream lodged in my throat. I had stopped breathing. The tip of the knife shook inches from Mr. Miller's chest. He straightened, saw the blade, and his grin faltered. "Whoa, easy there," he said, holding up both hands like I was a cop with a gun. Mrs. Miller wiped tears from her cheeks, still giggling. "We wanted to see if you'd be brave," she said. "Looks like you passed." I lowered the knife, but anger filled the space fear left behind. My legs wobbled. "You could have been stabbed," was all I managed to say. Mr. Miller waved it off, all in good fun. "We came home early, thought we'd test your nerves." He turned to hang his coat. "Put the kids to bed, will you? We're starving. Gonna make grilled cheese." I stared, expecting an apology or at least permission to go home. Instead, they strolled into the kitchen, opened the fridge, and started clinking plates. I walked back to the living room, still shaking. The kids peeked from behind the couch, confused. I told them their parents were home and carried the 6-year-old upstairs while the 8-year-old trudged behind me. Tucking them in was awkward. They sensed my mood. I kept my voice flat and brief. "Good night. Parents are downstairs." When I flicked off the hallway light, the knife was still in my hand. I returned it to the drawer, washed my fingerprints from the steel, and dried it carefully. From the hallway corner, I could see the adults through the kitchen doorway. They stood at the stove, arms wrapped around each other, swaying, laughing at some shared joke over buttering bread. The smell of sizzling cheese filled the house, but it only made my stomach churn. I sat at the dining table, phone face down. No one offered me food. No one thanked me for not putting the knife into Mr. Miller's ribs. At 10:30, Mrs. Miller finally noticed me. "You can head out," she chirped. "Same pay as usual." I walked home through the rain, money folded once in my pocket, shoes squelching. That night I lay in my room, eyes on the ceiling, replaying the moment the door opened. The flash of lightning, the knife blade gleaming, Mr. Miller's coat dark and slick like some figure from a crime show. I realized how close I had come to changing my life and theirs with a single reflex. I also realized they hadn't cared about my fear. The prank was for their entertainment. I never babysat for them again. When Mrs. Miller texted 2 weeks later, I said I was busy with school. She stopped asking after that. Some evenings, I still pass their porch on my walk to the bus stop. The house looks normal, yellow light in the windows, toys on the lawn, but I remember the cold rush of terror they manufactured for fun. It taught me 2 things. Panic feels exactly like danger, and some adults never grow up. Since then, I double-check every door I enter, even my own. I keep my phone charged and within reach, and when someone suggests a harmless joke at someone else's expense, I picture that knife trembling in my hand and shake my head no. I've never really believed in ghosts, but after babysitting at the Thompsons' house, I'm not so sure. It was a normal-looking place at the end of Willow Street, across from St. Mary's Church in my small town. My mom taught preschool and knew the Thompsons' boys, Ethan and Liam, from her classes. Their mom, Mrs. Thompson, called me one evening last summer when their regular babysitter bailed. I was 17, needed some cash, and figured it'd be an easy job. I was so wrong. The night started fine. Ethan and Liam, 6 and 8, were sweet but full of energy, running around their old 2-story house. It was one of those places built in the 70s, with creaky wooden floors and a faint, musty smell, like it held on to every year it had seen. Mrs. Thompson left me a list. Feed the boys, make sure they bathe, bed by 9. Simple enough. Around 6:30, I was in the kitchen with the boys, getting dinner ready. They wanted tacos, so we were grabbing stuff from the fridge. Liam plopped a plastic container of store-bought salsa on the counter. I turned to get some cheese, and out of nowhere, the container exploded. Salsa flew everywhere, walls, cabinets, fridge. It looked like a murder scene. The boys screamed, half laughing, half scared. I stood there, clutching a block of cheddar, stunned. I figured it was just old salsa, maybe fermented, causing gas to build up. That's what I told myself as I grabbed paper towels and started cleaning. The boys helped, giggling nervously, but Ethan kept glancing toward the living room, like he was waiting for something to appear. It took us 20 minutes to wipe down the mess, and the sharp tomato smell stuck around. We were still in the kitchen, scrubbing the last of the salsa off the fridge, when a loud thud came from the living room. It sounded like something heavy dropped. I told the boys to stay put and walked in, my heart beating faster. 2 framed photos, one of the boys at the beach, the other of their parents' wedding, had fallen off opposite walls. Both were on the floor, glass unbroken, lying face up like someone had placed them there. I checked the walls. The nails were still there, no cracks, no nothing. No windows were open, no breeze. Ethan, who'd followed me despite my instructions, whispered, "That happens sometimes." I forced a smile, propped the frames against the walls, and didn't hang them back up. My stomach felt off, but I told myself it was just an old house. After dinner, it was bath time. I got the boys upstairs, filled the tub, and let them splash around while I stood in the hallway, keeping the bathroom door cracked. Their dad's home office was across the hall, a small room with a cluttered desk and an old desktop computer. As I leaned against the wall, scrolling my phone, I heard a faint ding. Then another. The computer monitor flickered on, fans whirring loudly. The screen glowed blue, showing the Windows login page. I froze. Nobody had touched it. The boys were in the tub, and I was nowhere near the desk. I stepped into the office, half expecting a cat or something on the keyboard, but the room was empty. The mouse hadn't moved, and the keyboard had a thin layer of dust. I told myself it was probably an auto update, but after the salsa and the frames, it felt wrong. I unplugged the monitor's power cord and hurried back to the hallway. By 9:15, I'd tucked Ethan and Liam into their shared bedroom upstairs. They were wiped out and fell asleep fast, their soft snores filling the room. I closed their door and went downstairs to the living room to wait out the last hour until the Thompsons got home. I was flipping through channels on their old boxy TV when I heard it. Footsteps, slow and heavy, pacing the hallway above. I muted the TV, my heart pounding. I thought the boys must have gotten up. I tiptoed upstairs, moving quietly on the creaky steps. Their bedroom door was still closed. I cracked it open, and there they were, fast asleep exactly as I'd left them. The hallway was empty, the air still. I checked the other rooms, guest bedroom, bathroom, office, all empty. My skin prickled as I went back downstairs. 10 minutes later, the creaking started again. Slower this time, like someone was walking from one end of the hall to the other. I didn't go back up. I curled up on the couch, texting my boyfriend about how freaked out I was. "Just stay calm," he texted. "Old houses make noises." But I wasn't buying it. I sat in the corner of the couch, clutching my phone, counting down the minutes until 10:30. When the Thompsons walked in, I tried to act normal, but I must have looked shaken because Mrs. Thompson asked if I was okay. I mumbled something about the boys being great and grabbed my jacket. I didn't mention the salsa, the frames, the computer, or the footsteps. I just wanted out. Driving home, I kept thinking about Ethan's whisper. That happens sometimes. I babysat for them a couple more times, but I never stayed late again. And I always brought a friend. To this day, I don't know what was going on in that house, but it wasn't just my imagination. That place felt wrong, and I'll never forget it.